I realized I was just dumping a lot of stuff, and we're at the very beginning where we're learning the alphabet still. We're still learning what a pi looks like and what a row looks like. And I'm going, let's move ahead, charge, And we are going to be doing what I call this, that, and the other thing. These are words that should be part of our language, but it's like there's 24 ways to say the word the. There's a zillion ways to say this and that. We're going to do this, that, these, and those, and then we'll circle back and do the again, all in Greek letters. Then just like I had you keep the declaratives, which is all the way 24 ways to say the. Hopefully you have glued that on sort of stiff paper so that you can pull it out rapidly. And the same for the pesky pronouns. Cut out or Xerox it again and just put it on a stiff piece of paper so that you can look at it. These next tables do the same thing. This is talking about the words this and that. And there's our word right there, this word right here, that was in John chapter 1, hutos. And it just means this. Hutos. This cow, this word, this man, hutos. And all of these words, all of it means this.
Yeah. I was just looking up Erasmian, what is it called? Erasmian pronunciation.
Yes.
Just saying that's what they taught us at the seminary.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, and if you were to talk to a modern Greek speaker, they will use his name in vain. Yes.
Yeah, well, but that is nothing like it. When I look, they've also got the modern Greek pronunciations. It's completely different.
Was Erasmus just making it up as he went along?
I have no idea. All I know is that for the past 500 years, all seminary students have learned to pronounce it according to what he made up.
That's right. Yeah, good old Erasmus.
This particular section was not in my original 2 classes. It was, as I was teaching it the 3rd time, I realized that I had a gap and I needed to present these tables. They're usually further on back in most textbooks, but I needed to bring them forward so that you would have a fighting chance at translating passages. And part of the trick, which I'm going to try to show you tonight, is how they are all very similar. So after a while, you'll start noticing these endings, os and on and oo and o. And if you kind of shut these out in your mind and just start with a T, tone, to, that's just means of the, toe, it means the, it's just, they're the same as our words for 24 ways to say the. So in singular, the word is this, and plural, that the word is these. So I'll be focusing mostly on this, but if you get a plural, it's going to be these. The tables I'll show you, you'll start seeing a pattern. And so it's not just a complete mindless memory work, but that you are, by seeing the pattern, you'll be able to decode it, and you'll actually begin to get a better feel of these endings. Now, if you plural, so hutos, which is a singular os ending, if you put oi at the end, so hutoi, now you've got the word for these. So you have this, singular, or these, plural. To say that the difference between a the and a this and a these is they've put two in front of it. So you're running along on your Greek inscribed stone, like the Rosetta Stone, and there's no spaces. If you just saw TOU by itself, what would you immediately think?
Of the.
Of the. And if you saw right afterward TON, what would you immediately think?
The again.
The again. But you get a to and a ton run together. That means this. Yeah. So the TOU is, imagine you just stick TOU, which by itself means of the, and stick it onto another the, just jam them together. So two-ton, two-two, two-toe. This is your cue that it's, for instance, two-two is not of the of the. We were tempted to do that with the Rosetta Stone. We found a couple of thes that are jammed together, and I just let it lie because I needed to wait until I got to this slide to show you that it wasn't two thes in a row, but and of this, not of the. When I show you the table for the, hopefully that last gear will fall into place and you can see how they're very similar. We have two-tone, which means of the many, or just simply tone would be of the many. Two-tone would be of these many. And notice whether it's masculine or feminine or just a plain set of things, you know, these cows, these trees, these vines, all of them are identical. This is unusual. You would expect, if Greek was being consistent, that it would have differences between the gender cases. And here in genitive, there's no difference. Tutu, tau, taste, T-A-U, and tutu. So tutu as a thing or tutu as masculine and mixed, they're the same, but feminine, singular, is different. So if you've got this, when it says this, and it's got this kind of spelling, you know it's this woman. It's a specific female.
How would you pronounce differently the one that ends in tau O and the one that ends in tau omega? One with O micron.
Okay, this would be two toe, and this would be two ta.
Oh, okay.
It's a soft O. Yeah, it's an omicron. So if you think of the word omicron, you don't call it an omicron, and that's the hint on how to pronounce it. You say on the fancy W there, you would say omega.
Oh.
You would never say omega. You would say omega, and that's the way to help you remember that it's a long O, that even the name of the letter tells you it's a big fat O. And omicron means it's a little O. This is the feminine has the ida, yeah. So this is auti, which looks odd. You remember auto is kind of like, yeah, if, he, she, it, or self. Auti is the feminine. So you're not going to see this very much unless the scripture is saying this particular woman. The case that comes to mind would be the woman who touched the hem of the garment of Jesus, the Syrophoenician woman. The nominatives throw me for a loop. So hutoi, hutos, hoti, hotai, don't fit the pattern of just putting TOU in front of it, or TAOU. It almost looks, when you're reading it fast, it looks like auto, but the hyphen there tells you it's got an H sound. So, okay, so this is what is called a demonstrative pronoun. And you would, just like if I had an os word where it's more of a descriptive word, but I don't know what it's talking about, so you would say holy, but you don't know what's being holy. You would say holy one. Well, in this case, you would put in parentheses specific one, this specific one, and in your wooden translation. And then when you find out what the sentence is talking about, then you can put it into better English. So this and these. Let me show you how that worked in our John section, which is why I put it in lesson 14. So here's an example of John 1:2. It's speaking about Jesus, and it says, "Hutos in en archi pros ton theon." Tos, which we've just learned from the other table, is this specific one. We don't know who that specific one is yet. So I can put it in bold here to tell you what I'm going to do with it next. I'm going to turn it into a he, but right now it's this. Yeah, this specific one. In, meaning was. En, preposition, meaning in. Archi, could be chief. First, beginning. I'm choosing beginning. One of these days I'm going to throw chief in there just to throw you guys off. Pros, pardon me, is, I'm facing. And then ton theon, the God. So if it was strict wooden, would say this was in beginning facing the God. Or yes, and so I'm going to put in parentheses the missing items we're talking about. This specific one, we don't know who yet, was in the beginning, actively facing the God. So that's the tone here, pros tone, is this coming up in front of God. I don't know how to deal with that theologically, but that's what the phrase is saying, is it's I'm coming up face to face to God. So I might interpret this. I will say, well, who are they talking about? Oh, it sounds they're talking about this word. And then I go in the rest of chapter 1, and it's talking about Jesus. And I'm going, oh, okay, so I'm dealing with a he, and I would run all the way back up to this case and say, no, I know I'm not dealing with a thing, I'm dealing with a person. And so I convert this demonstrative pronoun into a real pronoun and say he was in the beginning, and I added my own commentary here, very much nose to God. They're just, that's the difference between an interpretation. This might almost be like the Living Bible, that kind of approach, where I'm rewording it for a modern English speaker, probably a modern American speaker. Now you have that and those. Let's look at these endings. There's the os, singular, plural. There's the oi again. So these are very common. Here's the on, just like you would see in a regular accusative tone. But instead of a T in front of here, and instead of a two, you get Ekein, E-K-E-I-N, in front of all of these words. So you can see the blue words there. And I didn't continue it over here, but every one of these has E-K-E-I-N in front. And that's the clue that you're pointing off in the distance. You're saying, that person over there, those people. And it's that's your big clue. Why do they use so many letters to do that? I don't know, but it is This particular table, that's the fundamental difference, because the endings are the same. Os, on, u for genitive, and o for, pardon me, u for genitive and o for dative. And then for the feminine, here's all your itas again, bop, 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 bop. And the plurals, oi, us, own, and ois, so us, ois. And all that's different is this koine in front of it. There's no cheat sheet as far as an English word that's similar. This is just a memory that when you see this, you go, that looks like something from one of Harry's tables, so it translates as that specific one or those specific things. Similar to the plural that we saw in the first table for these, the genitive is identical for all of the gender cases. So I'm going to go back to the first table. TOU is the clue. EKEIN is the clue for this table. Here's an example. It reads, Uk in ikanos to phos. So this OU tells you it's the word for not. And if it's got a K, it still means not. Ain is was. Ekinos, there's our word in the first chapter of John. And we now know it's a singular. The koine in front, it tells you it's part of that table, so you know it's that, and os, singular, that specific one. And then to, the phos is a light, of course. That's the phi symbol, the PH sound, and that's the omega, which is a long O sound. So if I was to make my wooden translation, I'll say not was that specific one, put in parentheses, the light. And as we go along and we find out this specific one has a name, his name is John, then we go, oh, it's a he. And so we convert this demonstrative pronoun, that, and we put it into a real pronoun, and we'll call it he. So the English would be, he was not the light.
Now, can it be also, the light was not that one? Turn it around.
Bitty 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 chili BB. Ain is an equivalent statement, but I don't see a subject clause on this side. So
Okay.
it's not was he. So this is the subject itself, but phos is not pardon me, phos is not an os word. And so there's not a flip around. But that's a good question because een or ain is an equivalence. So it would be like not equal that specific one, the light. And I think it's proper because the os is a subject. It's got to be in front of the word was rather than the light was not he. You would, in English, it probably doesn't make a difference. At this point, your mind should start swimming. So these are relative pronouns, and they are the who, whom, which, and again, another that. So there's many ways to say that. What is the prefix for the first way of saying that? Do you remember from the first chart? What's your clue? Oh, pardon me, from the second chart. Just the word that.
A cane?
A cane, very good. This one will be a little bit more difficult to memorize. Let me show you why. There are a place where the accents are going to drive you nuts. So here they all start out with an H sound in front. So just like you have ho for the, you put a sigma on it, and you got hos. Instead of ton, you have hon. Instead of tu, you have hu and ho. So, and the same for the feminines. It's almost like that's only the ending letters with an H in front of it. Like they stripped off everything else. This would be like hoi. You've seen hoi before, which means the many, but now notice this little, I want to say acute or grave. I keep getting mixed up which kind they are. This is the declining sound. So
That's the acute.
that's the acute. Then the other one is
That's
the grave.
acute, yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're such a cute. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, so this is hoi. You can ignore the inflection. It's just going to be HOI. But when it's got this little critter in it, this is this now changes the word to who or that. So it's no longer the many. This will throw you. Same up here. We're used to having H, ita, he, to meaning, you know, the feminine. But if this little guy in it, you get a who and a that. Here's the, what you would think would just be the ho. And we had this example in John. And I zipped over, I said, now notice this little accent, and then I got distracted and never got back to explain what I was talking about. So this one is the word that or which. You could use which or that depending on what makes a better English sentence. But this is not the word the, it's the word that or which. And how do you pronounce it? You still pronounce it ho. You know, so if I'm baffled how people in Jesus's day with Koine Greek could hear the differences. It's got to be the inflection of this accent was a tip-off. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how they could hear the differences between the two words. I thought, oh, I'm going to confuse them some more. Here's the Elements of New Testament Greek by Wenham. And he makes these, and I've taken it right from the book. He says, the relative pronoun agrees with its prior noun or pronoun in both number, so os, singular, and gender, os, masculine, but not necessarily matching their case. So nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative.
I don't understand what that sentence means.
So I may have the word which or that or whom or who, and the word that follows isn't obligated to have the same ending letters. So when I started this class, I said all the OU phrases all end with OU if that's a phrase. And so it tells you how the words stick together. When we get to these relative pronouns, all bets are off. And you kind of like you're thrown under the bus at this point with the Greek language. He says 5 spelling forms for relative pronouns match the definitive article. So for instance, ho matches ho. This is a case and one of the few, so what's in brackets is my commentary on his book, where the accents are needed to tell them apart. So ho, or ho with an accent, is how you tell the from that. It's rare, it's one of the few. And so relative pronouns always have an accent, mostly grave, but sometimes acute. Definite articles rarely have an accent, except when they rarely do.
Okay.
And this is point where you go, okay, I'm throwing up my hands. What a crazy language. And
Sounds like English, huh?
Yeah.
so it's good for me to get these charts to you early. So if you're running across something, you say, like Patricia was saying, that the two words that were before verse 4 in John didn't make sense with the word the. And indeed, it wasn't the, it was this guy. It was a that or a which. Or that which, you can put it together. So you can say that which was generated was life, is how you would handle, or how the NAB handled that particular translation. Others will move the period on the other side, and you get still that and which, and you say all that was created that was created. And here it is in Greek. Here are the 24 ways to say the in Greek. Here's your ho and he, the on, the u, the o, all the same endings for nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative. O, on, u, and o. Here's your etas or etas, which gives you the clue that it's the feminine form. And even down here in plural, whether it's masculine, feminine, or just a thing, in the plural form, in genitive, so of the many, it's always tone, whether it's masculine, feminine, or a thing. Well, this matches the previous tables you've seen. All that's different is there's a letter T in front. So if I had T-O-U, T-O-N, what would that word mean? To-ton. Say again?
This?
This, okay. And if it had a kainon, it would be
That.
that, And if it's just simply ton, the. But this is the, at least for the most part, Greek is consistent between all these personal pronouns, relative pronouns, and the word the. So that after a while, not now while you're a novice, but after a while, these particular endings just start looking natural to you. You're still trying to learn what an omega looks like, and what an eta looks like, and what a nu looks like, but it's still, after a while, it's kind of like the old look-say method of reading when you were in elementary school. Sometimes you use phonics, but after a while, you didn't have to sound out every single word. You just got implanted in your head that ho always means the, and hoi always means the many. And it's just the sheer repetition that as you're going through the New Testament, and you see these over and over and over again, eventually it'll stick. But until then, you need these helper cards, and that's what I'm providing it for you. I have a warning here. Why do I have a warning? Oh, over here. In the, when you're dealing with inanimate objects, a house, a tree, a car, and the subject and the object thus are identical. You're going to need context to say which one is the object and which one's the subject. What makes this table different from all other tables is the tau, the T. So if you've got a highlighter or a marker, you would mark the TOU as your clue for a this, a kind for that, the H symbol for the who, whom, which, and that. And which one you choose? Do you say of whom, because that would be a genitive, or you would say whose? It just depends on how the English sentence is starting to form, whether you use the word whose or of whom.